Okay. So by their nature, folds are pliant, malleable, flexible, and impressionable. They're precise, proportioned, reliable, and ordered. Folding is a kind of juxtaposition. It's a movement from interior to exterior, from extension to compression. And the next one. So the folding of fabrics, or pleating, has served as an expressive textile art form across many eras, civilizations, and cultural identities. As its applications evolve towards new technical textile industries, its capacity for both utilitarian and abstract design become apparent. The scaling and automation of textile production over the last 2 centuries continues an ancient dialogue between efficiency, quality, and value. When confronted with the extraordinary speed and complexity of modern manufacturing, the handmade must redefine itself and in the process prove its usefulness. Pleats can be fashioned using many methods, defined by the many variations and tools and techniques chosen by its practitioners. The coming examples will explore a small but familiar selection of artists alongside their work and processes. So the ancient Egyptian civilizations are well known for their impossible achievements, miraculous inventions, and the exquisitely detailed art capturing their histories. Pleated garments are depicted in stylized carvings, paintings, and sculptures, which describe the smallest variations in garment styles, down to the very character of the finely woven linens. There is no absolute or agreed consensus which can explain the consistency and scale at which they produced pleated fabrics. However, academic and weaver Anne Richards proposes a theory that the pleats were spun and woven into the fabric. These are known as structural pleats. So Mariano Fortuny and Henrietta Negrin are well known for their silken Delphos dresses, dyed with pigments drawn from the natural world and held together with glass beads. The ethereal movements of the pleats reflect mythological identities of femininity. The delicate folds are gathered and heat set in repetitious undulations of unconfined exactness. They have retained the buoyancy of their rhythmic compression for over a century. This technique is part of a broader category of hand-manipulated pleating. However, the exact methods used in Fortuny's workshops are still unknown. So Issey Miyake's pleats please infiltrate linear social divisions in search of an individualism existing within uniformity. This coexistence is reflected by the colours, images, patterns and text, folded into linear arrangements, which breathe with the body's movement. They're a collective of brilliant minds, specially engineered fibre, yarn and machine, to overcome the limitations inextricably linked to the time, labour and material-intensive nature of pleating. Despite their garments being machine pleated, they are no less enchanting or living. So modern pleating encompasses all 3 categories: the structural, hand-manipulated and machined. But as far as we know, the use of cardboard moulds to imprint folded patterns into fabric is a relatively new invention. It accompanies the adaptation of autoclaves in the textile industry. In this process, a pattern design is calculated, drafted, and tested in smaller sample prototypes. It's then scaled onto craft or card paper, defined by borders, grids, and markers. This pattern is then scored and replicated exactly over 2 sheets, making the crease lines more pliable. So the larger structures within the pattern are often folded first, followed by the more intricately connected units of detail. The moulds become animated by the uneven tension, twisting and curling through shifting structures. Making the transition from flat card to finished mould is a challenging but captivating exercise. The mould is then compressed, fastened and placed into a steam oven. Once removed, any moisture is left to dry for 24 hours. The heat setting process renders the folds more flexible, while at the same time giving the mould a more active recoil. Both layers are extended and the top layer is rolled back. The fabric is then overlaid across the lower layer before extending the top layer back into place. The mould is then collected with the fabric inside being pushed, pulled and compressed into its smallest dimensions. After being fastened, it's then placed in the steam oven again. So the process between unmarked card and pleated fabric are carried out in a very particular order and can be described as repetitious and simplistic in nature. Despite this, intuition and sensitivity are needed to understand the unique behaviours of each mould, pattern and textile. These deeply internalised qualities are difficult to teach with spoken word, written language or visual instructions. They're instead grown through patient repetitive practice grounded in confident technical knowledge. Until recently, these skills have survived successfully, being passed down by technicians and artisans in their factories and workshops. But with very little documentation or literature to reference, paired with the disappearance of established mould makers, the continuation of artisan pleating is difficult to envision. Today's Specialty Pleaters is one of the only continuing workshops due to the determination and volunteered efforts of Simon Zadrewski. Luckily, this practice has already received recognition from the Rare Trades and from the International Institute of Specialised Skills. However, the continued existence of pleating, as more than a relic or a lesser imitation of itself, will require an active network of artists, designers, students, educators, servitors, and everything in between. So the usefulness of the handmade should not be judged by the same metrics which account for machines of mass production. The tactility we experience in acts of making is a powerful tool for imagining a future of sustainably designed objects. It connects our innate material intelligence to our inner emotional being and our self-awareness to the generational wisdom of past makers.